So this Ingrid Goes West
Yeah.
film is well, first of all, what platform is it on?
Oh, I don't know. I think I watch it on Netflix or iTunes. I don't know. Some streaming thing.
One of the things. I'll figure it out. And is it like, should I watch it on my own, or is it like a couple's movie, or like, do I?
I watched it with my wife. I think
Okay.
I would probably watch if I were you, I would probably watch it with your wife, and
Okay.
she might find it interesting as well.
Alright.
That would be my recommendation for any of
Cool.
the listeners out there. Yeah, it's like, I guess you could say you could watch it with as a couple. But yeah,
Okay.
this is always on my radar for media, just in general. Is like sometimes you hear a thing recommended with a certain frequency and in a short enough period of time, and this is one that just kind of came up a bunch. So I was like, oh, let me check it out, and I watched it with my wife and found it interesting. And sort of, it's a well-made, like smaller movie. So yeah, I just thought, let's try it. Let's try it for homework.
Okay.
But yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I'm
You tired?
as always, Brady. Yeah, but as always with this stuff, I feel like it's the eternal story of doing these shows with you. There's panic in the hours before of, oh God, what are we going to talk about? and then a show that doesn't cover half of the stuff that we even just had in feedback.
Oh, I've got a bunch of things here in the list that I was really looking forward to talking about that we didn't even get to.
Okay, good. Well, we can save them for next time.
Yeah, but we always say that, and that's why we have we currently have 17-page
It's just
document of previous subjects we haven't talked about. I'm going to go down to page 17. I'm on page 17 of our document now. These are things that I once wrote in the notes for us to talk about that we haven't spoken about. And see if you even know what they mean.
Oh, I love this one on the bottom here.
Spoilers, MLB app.
Oh, you're looking
Pointing to
looking at your
someone's-
own thing. Okay, all right.
Pointing to someone's face.
Yes. Yeah, in the very bottom of our shared document, there's just a bullet point that says pointing to someone's face. What was that, Brady? Do you point at people's faces?
I don't know. Some of these look really interesting. Some of these I'd still like to talk about.
So I know for sure I'm the person who put this in here, but I wrote reverse subvocalization brackets not necessary, and I think, what the hell did I mean by that? I have no idea what I meant by reverse subvocalization. I've never really looked before, but yes, this is hilarious that we have 17 pages of stuff. I mean, to be fair, there's a fair bit of white space, and
Yeah. And there's stuff that we have eventually talked about, and obviously most of it's like...
and I also think
here's-
skimming through it, there's a fair bit of like sort of repeated topics.
Yeah.
Where
There's one
or
here that
other-
I've written
yeah.
here about BBC thumbnails that is still pisses me off every single day of my life. And every single time I think, I'm going to talk about that on Hello Internet one day. And here it is on page 13, I think, back in the document that I'd written it there, and I still haven't got around to talking about it. Unbelievable. This is like an amazing archive. There's a lot of sports stuff in here.
Yeah, there is.
It's like a little glimpse into my mind with occasional glimpses into yours, but because I put more stuff in here than...
Yeah, you do. You've always put more stuff in. You've always been much better about the show pre-prep. But I'm looking at like some of the things I know that I've written. I'm like, what are these notes from my past self? This is like if you wake up from a dream and you write down your good ideas. Some of these, like all the people who have started to listen to podcasts. It's like, what did I mean by that? I have no idea what that could even possibly be as a topic.
There must be some way we can use this for some like bullet round where we just like pick random bullet points from down below and we just have to figure out what it is and talk about it, like almost like a game show. Like, all right,
Yeah.
Gray, for the next 10 minutes you have to talk about
Yeah.
Wasting the time of important people.
Oh. Oh god, that's an uncomfortable topic. Yeah, it's that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. Like I should look at from the bottom of the list more, because
Yeah.
this is something like I try to do this with, like, I keep a list of, movies to watch or books to read, the stuff that people recommend. And a little trick that I try to do is, like, add stuff to the top of the list, because that's the easiest place to type. You're talking to someone and say, like, oh, I just read a great book, and you add it to the top of the list.
Yeah.
But then when I'm trying to find a book to read, I go down to the bottom of the list, because you have that thing where time acts as a sort of filter about what things are you actually interested in
Yeah,
much
that's
later.
true. That's true.
Or you realize, like, oh, I don't actually need to read this book. I was sort of fleetingly interested, but I'm not genuinely interested. And then it's also useful because you just sort of forget sometimes about what something was. And it does feel like there's because some of these are literally years old now at this point.
Yeah.
There's a certain kind of funness in the forgetting of it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Yeah, some of these are also topics where it's like, I've never really wanted to talk about it on the show for some reason or other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
Some of them didn't get on for a reason.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is just for the after show people, but I have, like, the bullet point that I know that I've thought about many times, but I just have it listed as the educational value of educational videos. It's like, you know what? I never really want to talk about that any particular week. It's like, let's not go there.
I saw one thing right down at the bottom here that had something about good and bad movie sequels. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
I watched Paddington 2 last night.
Okay.
My goodness, that's a good movie.
Can I just start with that one, or do I need to start with the regular Paddington?
Well, I've never watched the first one, but that also is... my wife watched both yesterday, back to back, and I only watched the second one. And the second one's fantastic. The first one I once started watching and didn't enjoy much, but she said it was really good as well. You know what Paddington 2 got on Rotten Tomatoes from, like, critics? 100%.
Whoa, okay. Well, let me pull out my 2 watch lists and add Paddington on there, which is not something I expected to do. Okay, thank you.
I mean,
for that,
I don't
Brady.
think you need to have watched Paddington to appreciate Paddington 2, because I haven't.
Look, if I'm going into the Paddington series, I'm going to be a completionist. I'm going to start with Paddington
All right.
1.
I'm hoping that's the right thing to do.
Here's the other thing that I do. I write Paddington, and then I say Brady recommendation.
Like a little qualifier.
Right. No, but it's not a qualifier. It's also so I know who to blame. Right. It's like, oh, right, okay.
Let me. I mean, it's a kids' movie, but
Yeah.
I want to see what Paddington got on Rotten Tomatoes. The first Paddington, 97%.
I still think Rotten Tomatoes, while a very useful resource, they're like fresh versus rotten thing on the tomato meter. I don't know why. I still find it very confusing. It's like,
Yeah.
their little gimmick there, I don't like. I'm like, hey guys, just give me the percentage here.
Oh, yeah.
Something
I never even look at the other thing. I just look at the percentage. Yeah.
But something about the splat versus the tomato, I don't like. I find it visually confusing. I think it's. Oh, you know what it is looking at now? I think this is the thing. It's because the splat is green, and so I think, oh, the green thing must be good.
Green for go. Yeah, green
Right.
for go. Red for stop. Yeah.
And the tomato is red for bad, and I think that's why it throws me off.
If you're umming and ahhing about a film and you decide, okay, I'll have a quick look at Rotten Tomatoes to see what it got, what's your threshold? What's the number that will push you into watching versus not watching typically? I know there are various factors here, but yeah, depending on how close you are and stuff. But
Yeah, no, but like, you mean what? You mean like close to a movie theater? Is that what you mean by
no,
close?
how close you are to watching it. Like if you're thinking,
okay.
like if you're far from interested, and then you realise, like when I said Paddington 2, you like blanked out, and then when I said
Right.
100%, you went, oh, okay, I'll have a look.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was a film you were already interested in, and then I said it got 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, you'd be like, that's nudged me a bit closer, nudged me away a bit. Like,
there's like a conflicting problem here, which is some of the most interesting movies are divisive movies.
true.
So I think what I use Rotten Tomatoes for is a nope filter of when I go there, I'm almost always going just to check, is it 25%? Is it 10%? That kind of
So
thing.
it's like a nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I think that's the way that I tend to use it.
Yeah.
Is in that of like I'm using this as a nope filter of if it's a terrible score, I just know that I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to bother with the movie.
Yeah.
But it's like 50 wouldn't be an automatic nope for me because
Okay.
I think like, oh, I mean, it depends on what the movie looks like it is. But if the movie has any kind of air of interestingness, I wouldn't say that 50 is a like, oh no, this is terrible. This is a terrible.
So I've just looked up Ingrid Goes West.
Okay.
Do you want to know?
Yeah. What is it? I have no idea.
86%.
Oh, interesting.
71% audience score. Whatever that's worth.
The ones I find interesting are the ones where there's like a massive divergence between the critic score and the audience score.
Yeah.
Like I find that, I don't know, I find it entertaining when a movie gets something like, oh, the critics score at 97% and then the audience score is like 5%.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That usually means it's going to be in a foreign language in black and white.
Is that what that means? I don't know.
It's going to be like super art house, isn't it? If the audience hates it and critics love it.
Yeah, that is possible. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I feel relatively softened to foreign films because of our household viewing experience has burned through all of the movies in the English speaking world.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, do you have a number? Do you have a number in your head? Like, do you use Rotten Tomatoes very much?
It's usually when you're like thumbing through everything that's available, like on Apple, and you're like,
Right.
oh, I've heard of that one, and it's got an actor in it I'm interested in. I've heard of the name, but is it good or bad? I don't know if I've heard of. I don't know. Rotten Tomatoes, 30%. Next, 90%. Okay, maybe.
I always forget that they have this what's new streaming this week thing that I always feel like I should use.
I don't understand. Something's wrong though, Gray, because I reckon on any given week there are 2 or 3 films at the cinema that I look at and think, oh, I must see that, and I don't.
Right.
So I'll wait for it to come on, come up on the Apple. And yet every time I go through the Apple thing, there's never a film that I want to watch. Like, when are these films coming through the pipelines, or have I lost what's going on here? I feel like every film I can't wait to see never appears, and then I forget they exist.
Yeah. I get mad at Apple for showing all the like pre-purchase movies.
Ugh.
Right?
Yes.
I want a feature where it's like, "Hey Apple, listen. You know why I'm here. I'm here to watch a movie right now.
Who
I'm
does
not here
that?
to watch a movie in a month."
What possible reason is there to pre-purchase a movie like on a streaming service? I never understand that. It's not like they're going to run out of them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
you
like
know
buying
what?
the ticket for the midnight showing. So there's a finite number of seats. There's an infinite number of downloads. I know it can act as a reminder and stuff, but still, I think there's something a little bit sad about it.
No, that's great. You know what? It's like Brady. I've been so divorced from the physical economy that I forgot this is why pre-purchase exists as a concept. It's like, oh, the new Super Mario is coming out, and the store is only going to get so many of them. Pre-purchase one of them so that you're at the head of the line.
Yeah, okay, cool. I like that. That I totally respect. But pre-purchasing like a download of a stream, I don't know. And if they give you a discount, I'd understand. Do they give you a discount? Maybe I don't know.
No, they don't. They don't because
Right.
like buying the movie is the sucker's game, right? You have to pay full price for it, and then later on they'll have it for rent or for stream or something. So it's like it's the reverse of everything. But yeah, it makes me so mad to see all those things.
If you can't wait to watch it, or it's a film you know you're going to watch lots of times, I'm okay with buying it. Like, I've bought the Godfather films because
Right.
I watch them, like, 10 times a year. But, yeah. Anyway, I'm glad I said this on Goodbye Internet, not Hello Internet, so I'm not going to get screamed at quite so much.
I still need to watch the Godfather movies. That is totally on my list.
Oh,
as
great.
Brady recommends / for Hello Internet, and I still
Hang
haven't
on.
gotten around to it.
Let's see what The Godfather gets on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got to be high.
I mean, I do hear it's pretty good.
The original, 98%. Godfather 2, 97%. Godfather 3, which people love to condemn, I still think's okay. 68%.
Yeah, that's the one everyone tells me when I say I haven't seen The
Yeah.
Godfather. They're like,
It's
okay,
not that
stop
bad.
at 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2 are the ones I never watched the third one. 1 and 2, like, amazing. 98 and 97. Considering this is a 1972 film and a 1974 film, I can't believe they're that old. They're both older than me. That's amazing.
Okay, when I do eventually watch The Godfather. for
Godfather gets 98% and 98% audience.
Halloween- okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Should I stop at 2? Like, would you recommend that as the optimal viewing experience?
I would not watch the third one for at least a few months
Okay, that's interesting.
and then see if you want to watch it. I wouldn't jump straight into it. It's not as bad as everyone says, and it's not in keeping with the trilogy. It's just not quite as compelling a story, not as well acted,
Yeah, but like, the thing about The Godfather is that it's so highly recommended that it feels a little bit like, oh, why sully this experience? And I think I feel this way a little bit because I'm sure I've said on the show before, I've said to you, like, I feel like I've caught the pattern of particularly TV series on streaming series of like, oh, they have a great first season and then they're just going to keep making the same season but worse until people stop watching.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's so true. It's amazing to me how in the old days I would just watch like a series to the death out of loyalty. And now there are loads and loads of series like on Netflix and that I'll watch series 1 and I'll watch the first episode of series 2 and think, no, I'm not going here again. I was happy with series 1. I can think of loads of them. In fact, the third series of Stranger Things, I think, is in danger of me not watching.
Yeah, I just watched the first season because I had that experience of like, I love this. It was great. But that was actually my turning point thing for recognizing this pattern of like, you know what? Leave it as the first season experience that was great and just don't bother with anything else.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've just seen this in a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, you're right. They just flog it until people stop watching.
Yeah.
They let it die by attrition now rather than artistic reasons.
Yeah, like I think that was always the case. Like it's shows were run until they weren't commercially viable, but there's something that feels very different about the pattern of self-contained first season is like, if it's really great, it's actually kind of a red flag for the subsequent seasons. Like, just stop and be happy with the first season.
Yeah.
Don't continue on to the second season. Because they're just going to do the same story but sort of worse, and then they're going to do it again in the third season.
Let me ask you a final question before we stop
Yeah.
by internet, because we've gone for ages.
Yeah, we have gone for ages.
If you could not have watched the Star Wars prequels, if I could take them away, the 3 abominations, would you be happy to have not seen them now, in hindsight? Or do you think it's important that you've seen them? Because that's the answer to the Godfather 3 question.
No, but see, Brady, here's the problem. I'm glad the Star Wars prequels exist because I love the Red Letter Media takedowns of them so much. Like, they are worth it for those takedowns.
Yeah.
And I actually, while I was traveling this summer, there was one. It was after one of the conferences. I was just totally brain dead and exhausted, and was just sitting in my hotel room, and I just binged that whole series again.
Yeah,
and
they're good.
I haven't watched it in a long time. I was like, this totally holds up. Like it's still
Except for all
great.
those stupid interludes where he's the serial killer.
Yeah, on multiple viewings, some of them are a little long, but but fundamentally, they're subtle masterclass on what makes a movie good is just so good, and the prequels are such a fun takedown thing to do. So they're a bit of an exception.
Do you know when I realised how much I liked those Red Letter Media Plinkett reviews was when they did Titanic, because I actually really liked the film Titanic, and I think it was brilliantly done, and I went and saw it lots of times at the cinema, and I know what's bad about it as well, but I think overall it's a masterpiece of a film. And when he was doing it, I thought, oh, he's going to rip apart something I actually like now. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this. But he was actually he was very praiseful of it.
Yeah, they were very positive about Titanic for sure.
Yeah.
And it you know, I didn't really like that movie, but I saw it under very suboptimal conditions. And I feel like, that review kind of gave me an appreciation for some of the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah.
I have a different answer to the question though, Brady. I think if I could unsee a Star Wars movie, I would unsee The Last Jedi. I would choose to unsee that movie.
Yeah.
Because we have totally joked about it, but it is true. That movie just totally broke my ability to care for the series.
I have to agree with you, Gray.
Interesting.
My wife didn't watch it, and a few months ago now, not long after we'd reviewed it, I thought, can't have been that bad. And she hadn't seen it, so I said, "Do you want to watch it?" You know, because she doesn't mind a Star Wars movie just for the event of a Star Wars movie. So I said, "Let's put it on," and I reckon within 20 minutes we just aborted. Like, I couldn't handle it again, and she just said, "This is a heap of rubbish," and we hadn't even got to the rubbish part yet, and that's not even dealing with the defiling of Star Wars lore and Star Wars characters you love so much. That's before you even get into that. It's just that's.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting to hear you say that, because that is the one I would choose to unsee. I wouldn't choose to unsee the prequels because I've actually, in a perverse way, derived tremendous joy over many years because of those prequels. But yeah, that Last Jedi just totally broke my ability to care, and
it also poses a really interesting question.
Yeah.
About Star Wars, and that is it a greater sin to meddle and make mistakes with before, the Golden Age, or after them, like afterwards? Like to have Anakin be such a whiny pain in the butt.
Right.
Or to see, Luke Skywalker and Leia and that really old and dying and a bit embarrassing. Like, which is worse? Which is like, for a sad Star Wars fanboys that like the original films, which is a greater sin against us?
Which do you think is a greater sin?
The sequels. Feels like it now, because like it's almost like with the prequels, because they were different actors, and like it almost felt like, oh, you're just making this up, this didn't happen. But with the sequels, because it's the same actors, that's Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford, you can't deny it anymore. You can't go into denial, because that's the real Luke Skywalker now. That's the real Han Solo. This is real, man.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I think that's why, like, I actually liked Solo quite a lot. And I think I said it in the review that I could sort of divorce him from Han Solo, and it's just like a movie taking place in the Star Wars worlds, and it's like, oh yeah, no, this is fun.
There's a new TV show they've announced too. Let's talk about it another time. There's some interesting Star Wars stuff happening at the moment that could be really, really terrible or really, really interesting. So, but we must go. I must go because I'm on a deadline now. My wife's about to start watching Bake Off without me. I've gone 15 minutes over my promised finish time.
Don't let me get in the way of a Bake Off.
This is the Bake Off starts tonight, so it's about to take over the country.
Whoa, okay, well.
Yeah.